What's up, family? You're listening to Living Beyond the Dream podcast, a podcast where we have practical conversations, take the dreams you have for yourself and your organization and turn it into reality. My name is Mike, joined by my man Tyler, like always. And we are being joined by you, man. You listen week in and week out. You're tuning in week in and week out. And it really is such a blessing to hear everybody just reaching out to us saying how much they're being blessed by it or they've been sharing it. So thank you. I just want to personally just say thank you. And it really does mean the world to us when you share it, when you rate it and you review it. We just want to help people. Yeah. So you're just getting that reach out there lets us help a little bit more people every single week.
That's right.
So we've been breaking down some good stuff.
Really good stuff.
We've been getting really internal.
Yeah.
And I think we're carrying that trend again today. So
That's right. Last week we talked about examining yourself. Today we're taking it one step further and really focusing on some character traits for leadership. Do you want to give some more insight on that?
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about strong character today.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's what I found. When you're younger in your leadership, you think talent's all that matters.
Yeah.
Like you're driven by talent. You want to be the talented. And talent's not, I'm not saying talent's a bad thing.
Yeah.
But what I found as you're going, that's not sustainable.
Yeah.
Character is sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I've found is that leadership that doesn't have strong character can draw a crowd, but they can't sustain a following.
That's good.
And we've got to learn the art of that because, man, I've learned the hard way of having some strong character flaws that has kept me from being successful.
Yeah.
And I read a book, man, a while back. It's a huge book. And it's not a Christian book, but it's a psychology book written by Robert Greene called The Laws of Human Nature. It's like 4 books in one. So if you ever get this book, it's going to take you forever to read it. It's a big one. And some of the stuff you got to spit out because, of course, as believers, we know better. But he's really breaking down the human psyche, a lot of things, and the way we kind of break that down. And he goes through historical figures. It's an interesting book at take. But he goes through this whole chapter on character, and he starts talking about the importance of character. It's actually probably the biggest trait a human needs is a strong character. And it was one of those things because as a believer and a pastor reading the Word of God, it's like, duh, the Word of God's been preaching this for thousands of years.
Yeah.
But he starts really kind of referring to all this stuff. And he's got a lot of list of what he says strong character is that kind of really stood out to me. It's so much so that I wrote the list down on a whiteboard to look at pretty much every day to kind of just be like a little refresher questions I ask myself. As you notice, I asked myself a lot of questions like last week. Well, this is a sidebar of some things I write down that I don't necessarily ask myself, but I look at it periodically just to kind of be a refresher. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that today and kind of break that down and really kind of get strong character in our leadership abilities.
Yeah, definitely. So I think we're breaking down 5 of those points today. The first one is resilience under pressure. What does that mean?
Well, I know that it's kind of a hot topic word right now. You got to have grit. You got to have that grind. You got to have that resilient, right? Like that's the thing about leadership, man. You're going to find these little push buttons that are true, but it gets so overused, people tune them out. But here's what I found is that a lot of people, they get into this leadership and it doesn't go the way they planned because that's life. Life doesn't go the way you plan. And then emotionally, they just start having a tailspin and just start spinning out of control because they're not resilient under the pressure that it takes to stand in the waves of whatever goes on in your organization. People are people. That means they're messy. They're fickle. They're going to be emotional. They're not going to do things the way you want them all the time. They're going to say things. They're going to act in ways that are so going to drive you crazy.
Yeah.
And you can either let yourself get into this emotional state and then do something with a weak character that you're going to regret, saying something that you regret, treating people in a way you regret, throwing in the towel and quitting and regretting it later on in life. Or you can learn to have resilience to understand the messiness of people, the messiness of culture, and understanding that we are resilient and we ride through the mess. And that's how we can overcome a lot where a lot of people are left wayside because they quit. We're going to ride through the wave and go places that most people can't because we have that resilient character and we're not going to react in our emotional state. We got to prayerfully compose ourselves and act in our spiritual state.
Yeah.
And this is where a lot of times we speak first instead of pray first.
Yeah.
And when you learn to pray first instead of react first, you're allowing yourself to say, I'm going to let my emotions subside. I'm going to let my spirit align. And I'm going to let God speak wisdom into me. And that's going to build a lot more resilience in your life. So I promise you, the things you're struggling with right now, I promise you, they will subside if you keep moving forward and you get strategic with it and have that resilience. But if you're going to just get emotional, you're going to dwell on it always. They're going to last longer, and they're going to hurt you and affect your organization a lot worse in ways that you never imagined.
Would you say that consistency with seeking and praying in that is how you would build that? Or what are some best practices?
Yeah, you need to be consistent with it, but you also got to realize yourself. You've got to be a very good temperature gauge of yourself. So you've got to know when you're getting emotionally charged, you've got to understand what your reactions are going to be.
Yeah.
And here's what I've found. I've probably said this before because it's a statistic that I've loved to throw out there, but studies show that when you're emotionally charged, your IQ drops 30 points.
Yeah.
So you get dumber when you're all emotional because you're not thinking straight. So the question is when you realize you're getting into this emotional state and you realize the world's not working out the way you want because you're getting dealt cards, are you going to stay in it and react in a dumber state, make dumb moves, make dumb choices, or are you going to get the resilience to step back, compose yourself, and start thinking through solutions to get you to that next place?
Yeah, that's really good. And kind of goes into number 2, attention to detail.
Yeah.
How do you become a detailed person, and why is that important?
Well, a person of character doesn't cut corners.
Yeah.
A person of character says, I'm going to be excellent even when no one else watches.
Yeah.
And that means I care about the details. And sometimes we like to look good on the front, but we're held together by duct tape behind the scenes. That's not sustainable.
Yeah.
That's not lasting, and that's not honoring God, right?
Yeah.
The Bible says we work as though we're working for God because that brings honor to God. And so when you care about details, it matters because it's building something into you of honor.
Yeah.
You're going to start becoming a person of honor because you're always going to give people and God your best.
Yeah.
But when you don't care about details and you kind of just throw things together and you procrastinate and you kind of just are always sloppy with what you're doing and you kind of just throw it together, what you're doing is giving someone 60% of your best. Whatever in life are you okay with 60% of anything when you paid for 100%?
Yeah.
Right? If you go to a restaurant and they give you 60% of your food, you ain't going to be happy with it.
Right, yeah.
You're going to think they're the worst people in the world. Or you get a cheeseburger and 60% of the cheese is on your burger, but 40% is not. What are you going to be mad at them? Because they didn't have excellence.
Yeah.
Anything in life, if that's the case, it's going to bother you. Yet for some reason, when we're doing it ourselves, we always justify it.
Yeah.
So when you care about details, it means that you realize that small details create greatness.
Yeah.
Not one big thing.
Yeah.
Not one big speech. Not one big talent. No, when you have these small details and you accumulate them together, they create a great, successful company.
Yeah.
That's why I tell our dream team all the time at our church, it's not that I preach good that we see a lot of people get saved. It's because we all serve good together.
Yeah.
It's because the greeter outside made someone feel welcome.
Yeah.
It's because the person checking in the kids made someone feel like they were special and made them feel like their kids are going to be safe and taken care of and going to have fun. It's because the people cleaned the bathrooms and people realized it wasn't a disgusting mess.
Yeah.
It's because the worship guides are talking to someone that's first-time visitor. It's because when people are sitting in an auditorium, we're speaking to them and talking to them. They don't feel like it's a bunch of clicks.
Yeah.
So all of those small little details that if one was missing, you may not even notice, but when they come together, it creates an environment that makes people feel special. It's an honoring. That's in your personal life and in your organization. Character cares about details.
That's so good. Number 3, complete things.
Okay.
Complete things. So work on projects that stretch you, right? How do you do that without overstepping?
Well, sometimes we get so bored with our minds that we're not creative.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we can just go through the routine of life. And when you do that, you go on autopilot. And when you go on autopilot, sometimes you ignore problems and you ignore curves in where culture's shifting that you need to shift your organization.
Yeah.
So a lot of organizations get left in the dust and a lot of leaders get left in the dust. It's because their minds are shut off. They're not learning new things.
Yeah.
They're not completing anything. So sometimes when I'm talking about completing things, it's because you're just always hungering for knowledge to stretch yourself.
Yeah.
And so when you're completing things, it says, man, I'm going to finish books.
Yeah.
I'm going to read X amount of books. you know what, I'm going to do this new hobby, or I'm going to focus on this new project, or I'm going to learn a new skill. And it's not necessarily overstepping other people. It's trying to prime your brain not to shut off and go into autopilot, but to always be growing and stretching.
Yeah.
So when you're doing that, you're more conscious in your leadership and you're more conscious in your organization.
Yeah.
But most people don't do that. How many people realize weeks bleed into each other?
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you're 6 months down the road and nothing's ever changed.
Yeah.
Right? Why? Because what do? We do the same thing. We do the same thing. We watch the same shows. We don't ever learn anything new. We're not really reading. We're punching the clock just to do our least minimum work.
Yeah.
And then we wonder why nothing's ever shifting and people aren't following you because you're not inspiring.
Yeah.
People that learn and they grow and they expand and they complete things and they learn a new project, they're inspiring people that people want to be around because they start rubbing off on other people.
Yeah.
So that's kind of just prime that brain so it doesn't go on autopilot.
How do you build that discipline?
No excuses.
Yeah.
Don't waste it on things that are wasting, right? Like what do I mean by that? Like I've literally deleted every social media app off my phone.
Yeah.
I have not been on social media in months. If you see a post from me, it's from our social team. It's not from me.
Yeah.
It's not because I think social media is bad. It's because I found myself pulling my phone out more than pulling a book out.
Mm-hmm.
It's because I found myself face first in a bunch of scrolls and I'm losing momentum.
Yeah.
So what I had to learn to do is if things are controlling or consuming my schedule and they're not adding value to me, then I got to cut them out.
Yeah.
And you got to look at your schedule and go, if something is consuming your schedule and it's not adding value, get rid of it.
Yeah.
Like, why have it?
Yeah.
It's just taking up a block of space that could be filled with something that's going to make you better.
Yeah. That's so good. Number 4, continually be team focused. How do you shift your mindset to what I'm going to do is best for the team?
Yeah, I think this is a tough one for a lot of people because we're naturally inwardly focused because it's just human nature.
Yeah.
The problem is sometimes we care more about what the company can do for us instead of what we can do for the company.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you become very selfish. And what happens is you actually aren't helping yourself. You think you're helping yourself. You think you're promoting yourself. You think you're looking out for yourself. But what you're finding yourself is you start finding yourself in an island by yourself. Mm-hmm. Isolation is the worst place you can be in. But when you start becoming team focused and you care about the organization as a whole, it means you support people around you to the point that you really want them to be best. You're going to serve them. You're going to elevate them. You're going to speak highly of them. You're going to encourage them. You're going to want to be in their corner. You're going to think, hey, no, I know this ain't my department, but if you need help, I want to be there to be a support system to you because I realize it's not a department versus department. It's an organization health thing.
Yeah.
That builds camaraderie.
Yeah.
That builds a support system. That builds a team around you. But a lot of people are so selfishly driven that they're like, I ain't got time to do that. I got to do this. Or why would I want them to look better?
Yeah.
I should look better. I want the applause. I want the affirmation. I want that. And we live this I mentality instead of this we mentality. You're never meant to live in this isolated context of life. We're meant to live in the context of community. And the only way community works is if we're benefiting each other.
Yeah.
If we add value to each other. If we support each other. Community does not work if it's filled with a bunch of selfish people.
Yeah.
Like, that's a horrible thing. Like, think about that. If you lived in a house with everybody who's selfish and nobody cared about anybody, you would want out of that house.
Yeah.
That's the way most organizations look.
Wow.
It's the way most churches look.
Yeah.
We don't care about anybody else. We care about us. I want my seat. I don't want nobody else sitting in it. I want to go to the service I want to go to. I want the preacher preach sermons I want. I want the songs I want to hear. I don't care about nobody else. I don't care about people that are dying to go to hell. I don't care about other people that don't have a church family yet and are desperate to find community. But I'm not going to honor them. Mm-hmm. And that's what most people are. That's a lonely place to live.
Yeah.
We got to live with team.
Man, come on. Number 5 and the last one, and I want to camp out here for a couple questions on this one, but tolerate the differences of others.
Yeah.
I think this is a good one. I think we don't talk about this one enough.
Yeah.
Search for others with strong character traits and learn from them. How do you identify and maybe how do you communicate what you want from that relationship?
Well, a couple things.
Yeah.
First off, tolerate others' differences and then finding other people with strong character traits. A couple different ways you need to look at this. One, I'm bad at this. I'm a really strong personality, which causes me sometimes to be a bulldozer if I'm not careful. So in my weak character moments, I'm a very, very, very bad at tolerating other people's differences because I only care about my opinion and my character and my personality. And so this is something I always have to check myself. Every person's unique and different.
Yeah.
And if we're the body of Christ and every part of the body of Christ is important, and we're actually so important that we complete each other when we're together, I have to learn to realize that because someone is different than me doesn't make them bad, doesn't make them worse, doesn't even make them better, makes them complete me.
Yeah.
So I have to learn to sometimes step back and go, there has to be other voices at the table. And this is a really hard one for me. So I have to always check myself, and I fail all the time at this. So it's one reason why this is a reflection point, because this is what we do.
Yeah.
Secondly, I look at other people that I admire, and then I say, why do I admire them? And I break it down. I start saying, okay, I admire this character trait about them, and I admire that character because I realize I don't have that.
Yeah.
And I want that. And I don't necessarily have a personal relationship with all these people. You don't have to have a personal relationship with every mentor you have for them to be a mentor.
Yeah.
You can absorb their material. You can learn from the way they lead. You can see them from a distance. You can even go to conferences and see how they kind of speak into. You can read their books. And what you're doing is you're saying, okay, I want this character trait that they possess, and I want to be better in this area. And I'm learning to say, I'm not going to let my personality be excuse for lack of growth.
Yeah.
I'm going to realize I can grow even in my weak areas to be better. And I've done that in several areas with several different people because I'm trying and striving to be different and better and not just lean on my strengths and excuse my weaknesses, but try to even make my weaknesses become strengths so I can be who God called me to be, which is living out of the fruits of the Spirit, which is someone of strong character and value. I don't possess all the fruits of the Spirit.
Yeah.
I fail in those all the time. And that's not should ever be an excuse. And so I try to model myself after that a lot in those areas.
Yeah, that's really good. So taking the people that you will have a relationship with and you will be able to spend some time with, is there a right way to communicate, hey, here's what I want to receive from this in a character scenario?
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Here's where most mentees have a problem with mentors. They don't ever want to be vulnerable. They basically think if a mentor doesn't think I am good enough, they're not going to want to invest in me.
Yeah.
So we put on this fake facade of we have to be superhuman. Our church has to be great.
Yeah.
Has to be wonderful. Doesn't matter that you've been freaking out because attendance dropping and you're stressed as can be and you're wondering if money, but you can't tell your mentor that because if he doesn't think you're successful, then he's never going to want to mentor you.
Wow.
So you have no vulnerable.
Yeah.
That is the worst thing to do.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing to do. That's exactly what the devil wants you to do.
Yeah.
The devil wants you to be so insecure you don't tell anyone so that you can't learn from me. But what you got to learn to do is be vulnerable enough to talk to a mentor and say, you know what? How do you do this?
Yeah.
I'm struggling with this. You look like you're good in this. How did you get there? Or how do you perceive that? You got to learn to say, I'm okay not being complete, but I'm also okay knowing I'm striving to be complete.
Yeah.
You don't have to arrive at success to strive to be successful. And too many mentees think that they have to be successful for a mentor to like them. That's a lie from the pits of hell to keep you unsuccessful, to keep you isolated. You need vulnerable, real, authentic relationships for you to be who you're called and created to be. And only way you can do that is if you're real and honest with yourself. And then with those vulnerabilities, speak and let that mentor speak into your life.
That's so good. What a perfect place to end.
All right, family. We did it again. Another week into books. And, man, I'm so blessed every single week by you. If you could do me one big favor, if this was an episode that really blessed you, you feel like it's going to be helpful for someone, get the share it out, put it on social media. If you haven't rated and reviewed yet on iTunes or whatever podcast platform you're looking at, please rate and review. It helps us get that reach out. And lastly, if you haven't subscribed yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. Subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, don't just subscribe. Ring-a-ding that bell so you never miss an episode. And until next week, pray God's peace.